Good afternoon, everybody. I hope that you're doing very well. Today, we're going to be running through one of our iOB business webinars. Very, very excited to present this with you today. Very excited to share the amazing content that we've been working so hard to put together for you. What we're doing at the moment, we're just waiting for a few more people to join. We've got, I believe, quite a busy webinar today, so I want to make sure that everybody gets on and everybody has time to join us today, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait a minute or two. Then I'm going to introduce the webinar, wait for everybody to join, double check that everyone can hear me okay, double check that everyone can see me okay, and then we're going to run into today's presentation. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about today is understanding why knowledge is power. Now, as a prospective business owner, as a current business owner, whatever your current situation might be, because I know we have quite a varied level of attendee on here in terms of what it is that you offer, what it is that you do at the moment, or what it is that you may be looking to do in the near future. Okay, so it's really important that I get this message across to you today about understanding why knowledge is power. Okay, excellent. Very, very much looking forward to it. So I believe we are now at 2 o'clock. We are scheduled to begin at 2 o'clock. So I'm going to give it another 30 seconds, let a few more people join in with us today. Just can I double check before we do actually get started, can everybody hear me okay? And can everybody see the screen okay at the moment? If you can double check that for me and let me know in the chat box. The other things to run through with you today, just a few webinar pieces before we get started. As I said, today we're going to be running through a presentation. So you see me here on camera just now. You will not see me when the presentation begins, so please don't panic. Everything is fine with the webinar, as long as you can see the screen okay, and as long as you can hear me okay. And then what we'll do is we'll run through the webinar for about 15 to 20 minutes. The presentation is going to take today, and then we'll hit the Q&A at the end. We'll come on there for about 5 minutes or so, and I can answer any questions that you may have. All right, so that being said, let's get started with today's webinar. I'm just going to double check the chat box and check that everybody can hear and see me okay. All right, perfect. Perfect. So it looks like I am good to go, good to get started. Very much looking forward to this one today. All right, so let me just switch off the camera and we shall begin. Today's presentation, understanding why knowledge is power. Okay, now your presenter today is myself, Ben Porter-Smith. I am in a wonderful partnership with iOB Business, and my specialty is working with small businesses and helping them achieve stability and growth. Okay, so I'm very familiar with speaking to prospective business owners or people who currently own businesses and helping them get their business from the ground up and develop a very, very healthy and long-term enterprise to support themselves and their families for many, 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 many years into the future. Okay, so that is what I do, and that's what I specialize in. The first thing we're going to be talking about today, online marketing is a continual evolution. It's absolutely crucial that you understand this, because the more you understand this, the more you can do about it. Okay. Number two, now you know, what can you do? Okay. I'm going to run you through these points and these pieces, and we're going to talk about them together. And number three, the iOB Business Learn Center. Okay. Something that is really, really cool and really, really valuable. Okay. I've had the privilege of having an input on it myself. And I know that there's other amazing content in there as well. So something very, very valuable that we will have a good look at. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about today, online marketing is a continual evolution. All right, now evolution, I don't mean from the growth of man. I don't mean over the years. What I mean is evolution is something that is evolving all the time. Okay, evolution is something that is continually happening, continually changing, and something that we need to be very, very aware of indeed. Okay, so number one, client necessities can change. You need to know what prospects and current clients need. Okay, now what I mean by this, when you begin work with a certain client, they're going to tell you what they believe they need at that point in time. Okay, now it's up to you as the expert to tell them whether this is right or whether this is wrong. Because you've done your market research, because you're experienced in the field, you will know what your client needs the most. Okay, so we're speaking digital agency specific here. We're speaking digital agency clients specific here. So what I want you to know is that your client necessities will change. So this is applicable to you, whether you're a future business owner, whether you're a current business owner. Okay, you will know clients can change their mind at any time. Okay, clients might think that something is good, and you may need to agree with them, or you may need to disagree with them. But for whatever one you choose to do, you need to have reasoning behind that. Okay, you need to know what they want and what they need. All right, there's a very, very, very big difference between the two of those things. Okay, so remember, you at this point in time are the digital expert. You know what they need. Okay, they might have an idea, but you know how to execute. So very, very important. Okay, keep this in mind. because I'm going to show you how you can stay informed and how you can tell clients what they need. All right. The second thing to be aware of, algorithm updates on major marketing channels. Now, as you'll know, big channels like Facebook like to surprise us sometimes with changing their algorithm updates. Okay. Now, an algorithm is something that bases the behavior of something else. Okay. So an algorithm, when it comes to online marketing, is the way in which advertisements are displayed. Okay. So maybe it means with the original algorithm that it runs at a certain rate and it shows it to a certain amount of people for a certain amount of money, or, very, very similar. Okay. But what you need to be aware of is that algorithms can change all the time, and you can get this information. I'm going to show you how you can get this information later on. But algorithm updates are something that bother marketers time and time again, because it's something that we have to stay on top of. They will not bother you if you are always in the know. It's when you stop being in the know that algorithm updates begin to bother you, because something that may have worked yesterday will not work today. Okay. Now, I'm not saying this is necessarily a fact or a truth, but what I do know is, from being in the marketing world for such a long time, from being in the small business world for such a long time, you see this very, very often. Somebody will be saying, I don't understand what's happening. I did this exact advert for another client yesterday. I've tried to do the same advert for a client today, and it just isn't working. Okay. So again, this whole webinar is based on the fact that knowledge is power. Okay. Now, if you do not maintain your knowledge, you will be rendering yourself powerless. And it's not an exaggeration. Especially in online marketing, you have to stay up to date all of the time. Otherwise, you're going to make mistakes that you didn't even know were coming, because you're not up to date with the times. All right. Third thing today, new services and advertising options introduced by major social media and search engine providers are happening all the time. Okay, now the biggest search engine provider that I can think of, and I'm sure you will be familiar with, is Google. Okay, Google is the #1 search engine in the world. They don't just do search engines, they do everything from phones to Google Maps to Google Earth to pretty much anything you can think of that is associated with technology. They've probably had some hand in it somewhere along the line. Okay. Now, Google are a fairly new service. They're still adapting, they're still growing, but they are one of the biggest in the world. Okay. It's actually their parent company, Alphabet. Okay. But Google in themselves are one of the biggest search engine providers in the world, if not the single biggest right now. Okay. Now, major social media. All right. Now, let's take a social media example that everybody knows. We have Facebook. All right. So we have Facebook, Instagram. You're probably familiar with those two, and maybe even WhatsApp now. WhatsApp is owned by Facebook as well. Okay. Therefore, advertising on WhatsApp is dictated by the main major company, or the parent company, which is Facebook. Okay. Now, this may seem irrelevant, but it is actually very important, because the more you understand about how companies are structured, you understand which algorithms they follow and which services you can offer from marketing from the main channel. So when you market on Facebook, you can now market through Instagram and WhatsApp as a result of just advertising through Facebook. Okay. Now, if you were not kept up to date with this, you would not know that Facebook had acquired WhatsApp and acquired Instagram. Despite the fact that these didn't happen yesterday, they are something that is very relevant in the digital world. So of course, everybody who was involved in the digital space was aware, but people who were not involved in the digital space may not be aware. So this is your other classic example of something that comes up with your client, and you can now introduce this to them. If you're aware of this, you can go forward to your client and say, did you know that you can now advertise on Instagram and Facebook? Did you know that you can also advertise on WhatsApp? All right. Now, interestingly enough, YouTube is also classed as a search engine. Okay. Again, it's crazy. It may seem totally crazy, but it's absolutely true. The reason it's classed as a search engine is because if you've ever been on YouTube, you pop something into the search bar, you use a search term to find what you're looking for. If you look at them objectively, Google and YouTube work in the same way. Okay. You put in a search term and it gives you the result that it thinks that you want. So once upon a time, the only thing that you could do on Facebook was a single image ad, a very basic, simple advert where you would just see an image and you would see some text underneath it. Okay. They have developed massively since they began. At one point, they didn't even offer paid advertising. It's not something Facebook have always done. And again, that may be hard to believe. Okay. Now, I don't know. I couldn't physically say yes or no, but the same with Google, but I would imagine in their early foundational phases, it was just a search engine. Okay. So if that interests you, feel free to do as much research as you like on it. But I am here today to tell you that new services are being introduced all of the time. Okay. Facebook certainly is one of the biggest ones for rolling out new things. Now on Facebook, you can do video ads. You can do carousel ads, you can do messenger ads, you can do marketplace ads. You can put an advert more or less anywhere you like on Facebook now, because they have developed it to that extent. So they'll all have obviously different pros and cons and perks and benefits that you need to know so that you can then sell this service to your client as an add-on or as an additional bonus of working with you. Okay. Next, new methods for optimal performance on SEO and paid advertising introduced regularly. Okay. Now, the optimal way to do something yesterday, like I've said before, may not be the optimal way to do something today. SEO is one of the biggest for this. Now, SEO stands for search engine optimization. Okay. Now, what search engine optimization does is it helps you rank with someone like Google. For example, if you have a website and somebody types into Google something along the lines of your business, all right, so say that you're a flower shop. Somebody types into Google flowers Birmingham or flowers London, okay, somewhere where they might want to buy flowers. If your SEO is fantastic, there's a good chance that you will rank for this result. What that means is you might show up on the first page of Google or the second, third, fourth, fifth, depending on how good your search engine optimization is. Okay, very, very important part of this. All right, so paid advertising is the same. Okay, new methods for doing it in the best way get introduced all the time. Now, what I mean by this is that if you might want to structure differently, you may have different and even possibly better results. So with something like search engine optimization, it used to be back in the very, very simple day, before Google really expanded and grew, there's something called a meta description, right? And the meta description is essentially what sits behind the website, all right? It's kind of like a background of the website. Now, most commonly speaking, the way that people will try and improve their search engine optimization is by putting many relevant terms and words onto that page that can then correlate with what the viewer or the prospective customer is searching for on Google. Therefore, if I've got flower shop written 1,000 times on my website, then Google must show me for flower shop when people search for it. Now, that used to be the case. Not so much the case anymore. Okay, Google's looking at all kinds of things. It's looking at how well your website runs. It's looking at how fast it is. It's looking at the quality of your images. It's looking at see whether you've got enough words on your page, if your website is titled correctly. All of these different things are now being looked at. So an optimal performance method 10 years ago would have just been to put flower shop on the page 1,000 times. Now the optimal method is everything under the sun, more or less, okay? So it's a bit of an exaggeration, of course, but I use it to get home my point, that new methods are being developed and designed all the time. Again, another reason why knowledge is power. If you don't know this, you cannot keep ahead of the curve or even keep up with it at this point, okay? Now, show your clients and your prospects that you are a true industry expert with a developed skill set. What worked 5 years ago may not work today. So the final point I'm going to drive home with you today, and I've said it already probably 4 or 5 times in the presentation today, what worked 5 years ago may not work today. Okay? Now, this is so valuable. So good to know. All right. Show your prospects and your clients you're a true industry expert. Keep up to date all the time. You will feel confident and they will feel confident in you. Okay. Now you know what can you do about it. So now I have some advice on how you can train and you can keep yourself up to date. Okay. First things first, daily routine for continual training. Keep yourself established all the time. All right. Now, the biggest thing that you can do with this is just go for consistency. Don't commit to something completely unrealistic that you won't be able to do, but do make sure that you're doing it consistently day in, day out. So even if it's 20 minutes a day, all right? Let's just say, for example, round numbers, 20 minutes a day is 2 hours a week, all right? There's 52 weeks in a year. So if you're doing 2 hours a week times 52, you're doing 104 hours worth of training per year, all right? Now, 104 hours is somewhere in the region of four and a bit days, all right? Maybe 4.5 days. If my maths is correct, don't quote me on that. But in essence, what I mean to say is that if you work on something only 20 minutes a day, it's still a huge amount of time because it will have a compound effect. You'll begin to learn more, you'll begin to learn easier, and you end up putting in incredible amounts of time, but only from being consistent. Okay? If you're inconsistent, that 104 hours in a year all of a sudden turns into 4 or 6 or 8 or 10, something that isn't significant because you've stopped learning halfway through. Okay? Now, kind of mental knowledge, digital knowledge, being skilled in certain areas. This is no different to if you were a professional footballer and you joined the professional football team because you got a contract for that team. And then once you got there, you just stopped training and you just hoped that where your current skill level and fitness level was at was enough. All right. It's just not the case. So if you look at signing a client as getting a professional contract with a football team, that client's going to expect you to keep training and keep becoming better and keep giving them more. Okay. That's what clients expect. Clients at the very least expect you to keep up with what is recognized now as the optimal way to do things in the industry. Okay. If you fall behind, your clients will also fall behind, and that would just create and foster an unhealthy client working relationship. Okay. Very, very important. Second thing you can do, follow certain articles and blogs relevant to digital marketing development. Okay. Now, there's lots of blogs that you can follow. There's lots of articles that you can follow. I'm going to cover these with you in a little bit, but have a good look. Just have a good look at what kinds of digital marketing you are interested in, because there is a huge array of services available in the digital marketing industry. Now, digital marketing really applies to pretty much anything that includes advertising and marketing online. All right. So really what I want you to do is have a good think about what are you most interested in, whether it be because it has a good financial reward, because you enjoy it, because you've had success in the industry in the past, because someone you know has had success in that industry. All right. Whatever your main incentive for being interested in the field may be, follow articles and blogs relevant to digital marketing developments. If you're following the right people, you're listening to the right advice, it will be very difficult to fall behind because you're getting the most up-to-date information all the time. Like I said, even if you only commit 20 minutes a day to training yourself in specific fields, and you're listening and reading these blogs, podcasts, however you're absorbing the content, it's always going into your brain. Okay. Very, very important. Number 3, take part in specialized training academies provided by industry leaders. All right. Now there's a Google Academy, there's a Facebook Academy. Now there are some key differences between the two. Okay. Obviously the first one being that one is for Google and one is for Facebook, of course, but essentially they both cover pretty much every service that both of the platforms offer. So if you were to take on the Google Academy, for example, you can do anything from Google Drive, Gmail, Google Analytics, and paid advertising with Google. Okay. Amongst other things like Google My Business. Okay. So Google Academy is free, doesn't cost you anything to get involved, and it does take you through courses. All right. Now the courses are certainly not easy, and they're not easy for a reason, because they offer certification. All right. Now the certification gained from these academy courses are what proves that you know what you're talking about. If you can become qualified with Google and recognized in the way of certification, you've proved yourself to be an expert in that field because you have done the training. Okay. In the Facebook Academy, on the other hand, you do have to pay for the courses. I don't think it's a huge amount, but I believe that possibly and don't quote me on this again, the course may be free, but you may have to pay for the exam. All right. But the point is, if you want to learn about Facebook ads, you can do it in multiple different ways. But one of the ways in which you can become an expert purely on Facebook only is by visiting the Facebook Academy. All right. Now that's up to you. If that's something you feel like you would be interested in doing, there are lots of other ways that you can learn as well. Maybe some preferential ways. It just depends how you prefer to learn. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through some more ideas today. Right now, you know, what can you do? So topic number 2 is I'm giving you advice now on how you can develop yourself and how you can keep yourself in the know consistently. Okay. In the first slide, we talked about why online marketing is a continual evolution. Now we're working on what we can do about it. Okay. 4th thing that you can do, you can train yourself with YouTube and Udemy. Okay. YouTube, as you will know, is a free, like I said, it's a search engine essentially, but more what it's known for is providing videos. And some of those videos are training content. Okay, so you can go onto YouTube once you've developed, an idea of the niche that you're looking to specialize in. You can train yourself on YouTube and you can train yourself with Udemy. Okay, now the one thing I will point out is that there is not necessarily any certifications, qualifications necessary to become a trainer, quote unquote, with YouTube. So I'm not saying that the information will be inaccurate. But what I am saying is be careful with where you're learning on YouTube. Be careful with the people that you're working with or learning from, because there is no sort of certification process as such to become a trainer on YouTube. More or less anyone can do it. Now, lots and lots of people are incredible experts and they deserve all of the credit that they've been given. However, you may find one from time to time that isn't 100% accurate, and those are the ones that I would look out for. And Udemy, on the other hand, is I think the courses are around about £10. I think you can get some for 20, 50, 100. I think they vary in price, but I do believe that the majority of the prices are coming out about £9.99. And on these courses, you can run in various fields. You can have a look at digital marketing. You can have a look at lots of other things. So Udemy is essentially, it's kind of like mini courses all compiled into one website. So it might be something that you're interested in. We don't have any affiliation with them at all. We're just suggesting ways in which you could learn should you choose to do so. And the next thing that you can do, if you're really invested, you can gain professional qualifications, okay? So professional qualifications, maybe you don't want to go as extreme as going back to university, but there are other professional qualifications that you can get out there in digital marketing online. These are classed as professional qualifications with a few different providers. So do have a good look into that if that's something that you're interested in, okay? Now, the next thing you can do is work with CPD certified providers. Again, it's totally up to you if you would like to do this. CPD stands for Continued Professional Development, okay? Now, continued professional development, it can be anything from even a doctor may want to do it because professional development can be in any field. So you may already be a professional, say if you're a doctor or a lawyer and you're looking to move into the digital marketing space. Now with CPD, you're probably familiar with it already because professionals like to get continued professional development. It looks good for them and their employers appreciate it. And I'm sure that there's other incentives and rewards to do it. So if you didn't know what CPD is, give it a little research after this webinar here today. Have a good look into it because it's something that you can do as well. Okay, but the most important thing I want you to do and take away from this slide today, assess the needs of your ideal client and follow a personal training schedule. Okay, all of this training should be sculpted around the persona and the demographic of your ideal client. All right, follow a personal training schedule to make sure that you're consistent and your habits are continued throughout your process, but also make sure that the needs of your ideal client are being met, because if that is what you're going to base your business on, it would not be so relevant to study something in a different field. Okay, so finally, I would like to talk to you about a very, very good resource, one that I'm very familiar with, one that I've had the pleasure of having an input in, and something that I've learned from myself as well, okay? iOB Business Loan Center, all right? So what I want to talk to you today, okay? You get a bank of content for continual development training, all right? So the biggest thing that you're going to find with this bank of training is that we can provide things like this on an ongoing basis, all right? Bank of content for continual development training. Like I said, business is one of those worlds in which you must develop continually. If you have a bank of content which you can continually revisit, that is being updated continually, then you can continually develop your training time and time again. All right, it's a big bank of content there for you, okay, in the iOB Learn Center. It's something that you can go in, you can revisit, you can hone and refine your skills time and time again, okay? Now the things included, marketing and sales. We massively focus on this because sales and marketing and sales are such a huge part of the fundamentals of business, all right? If you don't know how to market or you don't know how to sell, you're definitely going to have difficulty when it comes to trying to grow a business, all right? So we do focus heavily on marketing and sales. Next thing we look at is operations. Operations are the backbone of your business, okay? Now you can market and sell as much as you like, but if you haven't got a strong backbone of your business, it's like adding a whole load of additional weight to something that doesn't have any support. So of course, it's going to start to crumble down, okay? Operations are the backbone of a fantastic business, and we focus on that heavily, okay? Now what I've got here, business development and business strategy, okay? We focus on many topics, okay? Lots of different walks of business, lots of different things, all right? So what I was saying earlier on topic number 2 about developing the things that you would like to understand, okay? Developing the things that would be ideal for your client. This is where you can dip in and out, and you can have a look at business development, and you can have a look at business strategy, okay? Development is how you grow the business. It's how you're developing all the time. And business strategy is about how you run your day-to-day operations, your sales, your marketing, your finance management. All of this is covered in the iOB Learn Center, okay? Now, something that will be a huge asset to you, and it covers such a vast array of things that you can dip in and out of as often as you like. Okay, so something for you I would like to give you today. Constant evolution means continual learning, okay? Now with constant evolution, we must continually learn, okay? Evolution is constant, just as our learning habits must be as well, okay? What I would like to give you today is the sign up link for the weekly blog from iOB Business, okay? Now earlier, when I was talking about making sure that you're studying, you've got a training plan, you're focusing on something that you need to focus on constantly. Okay, when you're doing that, it means you can focus on just what you need to know. Okay, you can train for your ideal client, but the other thing that you must be doing is keeping up to date with the industry all the time. And this is what you will receive from this blog. Okay, so thank you for attending. As always, it's been a real pleasure. We're going to jump onto the Q&A here in just a second. I'm going to go and grab those questions. Whilst I'm doing that, please do have a good look at this link here, iob-business.com/blog. Okay, have a good look. Sign up. The blog is not going to cost you anything, but the content will be very, very valuable indeed. Now, bear with me. I'm just going to go and grab my questions. Okay, so here we go. 2 questions I have. Okay, number 1, where should I start with my learning? Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do, if you bear with me 1 second, I am going to switch my camera back on and I am going to stop sharing my screen. So there we go. Hopefully you can see me just now. Hello again. Thank you very much for taking the time to spend with us today. And I'm going to stop the screen share. Okay, perfect. So the questions that I have at the moment, let me just check that we're all set and that you can see me okay. Excellent. Perfect. Okay, ideal. Brilliant. So the 2 questions I have today, okay, number 1, where should I start with my learning? Okay, now the one thing that I can recommend with this today is I want you to assess the most valuable skill set. Now we touched a bit on this in the presentation. Okay, what I would like you to do is really assess the most valuable skill set to you in terms of business priorities, financial gain, and value. Okay, now what I mean by these 3 things are where your priorities lay as a business and as a business owner. You'll be looking at the persona of your ideal client. Okay, now when you have a persona of your ideal client, you then start thinking about, okay, well, how can we work smarter, not harder? How can we focus on the topics or the walks of business, for example, that are going to earn us more money than others? Okay, so when you're asking me where to begin with your training, look at the most valuable skill sets and assets to have. If you are brand new into digital marketing, if it's a space that you're not familiar with at the moment, then really try hard to learn on the things that will earn the most money and that will be the most valuable for your clients. Okay, so fantastic question. Thank you for asking that. And the next question I have, what is the best way to keep up to date with industry changes? Okay, so we did cover this a bit in the presentation, and I think there's a few things that I can give to you additionally that might help with that. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk to you about, blogs. Okay, follow blogs, follow the blog, the iOB business blog, all right, which was heavily focused on digital marketing and things that you need to know as a potential or up and coming or current digital marketing agency owner. Then the other things that you can use, you've got newsletters, okay? Newsletters are another great way, okay? There are lots and lots and lots on digital marketing industries. So search for them, sign up for them, receive them straight to your inbox, all right? You can look at apps. You can look at apps that keep you updated with the latest developments in digital marketing. You can even probably specialize in the niche with the app if you wanted to focus on that. You can get Google alerts. You can do Google searches for your niche. You can do tons and tons of different things that will keep you up to date all the time. Podcasts are another great one. Okay, so making sure that you're continually almost notified when something changes. Your best efforts for that is just doing a quick Google search from time to time and just checking that everything that you once knew is still the same. If it is updated, then you can also absorb that content. And the other thing to make sure that you're doing is getting newsletters and blog alerts. Okay, if you can set up notifications for that kind of thing, make sure that you don't miss a beat. All right, so that is wrapped us up for today. I'm just going to double check that I don't have any more questions. I don't think I do, but I will double check certainly. Okay, cool. So to everyone who has joined us today, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. I know that you're coming in from very, very different places across the globe, very vast and varied, which is amazing to see. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today here in the UK. And I know that the time levels will be a bit different for you, so I do appreciate that. I hope that the webinar was valuable. I hope that you take home the information that we shared with you today, and please do remember to take advantage of the blog link if that's something that you would be interested in doing. As I say, I do recommend doing that if you in any way wish to learn more about digital marketing. Okay, so where we are, this will be the last iOB business webinar before Christmas. So if I don't see you before then, have a wonderful, wonderful festive period. Thank you as always so much for joining us today, and I will see you in the new year. Until then, bye for now.